And I should be there now. Oh, wait, is my mic on? Yes, my mic's on. Your mic's on. All right. So we'll give a couple minutes, see if anybody pops in. If anybody's in there, say something. Let us know and we'll get on with it.
Cool. Just so you know, it's not showing up on the video yet.
Man, I wonder how bad that lag is. Oh, there's one person. That's probably you.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, because there goes the video. Cool.
Right. Yeah, there's like a 30-second lag then because I got a timer up here. It tells me how long it's been on.
There. And I see a Marty up north. Hi from Alberta.
Hey, Marty. How you doing, brother?
Heck yeah, man.
Hey, Marty. Did you get my email? No, I gotta wait like 30 seconds for an answer.
All right. So I'm going to turn off that video so I can be in the moment.
I did email you back. He emailed me, and his is the only email I have ever got that ended up going into my promotion folder, which is usually I don't even look at. I delete them. But I saw what the headline was. I was like, wait a minute, what?
Cool. Doing well. That's good.
Yeah, I got your automated response. All right, so we're going to go ahead and dive down into the interview real quick. I've got Nick, the Wandering Kiltsman. First of all, how'd you get that name?
Well, it was actually kind of voted on by committee. I've got a great team that I work with at the Wandering Kiltsman. So we got an LLC, made sure everything was nice and packaged. And since I was going to do the trail in a kilt, it fit, it made sense, and it stuck. So I got to go hike with a trail name that wasn't something negative. So that was always good.
And I'm assuming you did wear a kilt?
Oh, yeah. Most of the time. There was maybe a month where I didn't have a kilt, and that was just because of the kilt that I was wearing got lost in the river.
Oh.
And yeah, so I got to hike in shorts for a month to remember why I don't like hiking in pants or shorts.
How long you been wearing kilts? Because this isn't nothing new to you.
No. Well, I started wearing kilts full time in 2016, right when I got out of the military. Just I discovered the comfort of it, and once you decide something, you stick to it.
Right.
So, yeah.
Thank you for your service, by the way.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
Growing up as a kid, were you outdoors much?
Yes and no. So I was a military brat, and I did do like scouts, and I was usually outside if I could help it until, like the late 80s, early 90s when video games became a thing. And then I was just kind of transitioning in and out of being outside. Right. So yes.
So that you kept with it. You when did you go into the military? Right after high school?
No, pretty close. I joined in 2008 and was in the Navy until 2016, and so like 5 years after high school, I joined the military.
When was that? Might be
years. Well, so I graduated late 2003 and joined the military in 2008. So yeah.
Was that something you always wanted to do, or?
So yes and no. When I did ROTC in high school, I thought I was going to do it no matter what. Got out of high school, went to college, was in entertainment, started doing film and television straight out of high school and college. And it just was one of those times where it's like, you know what? I need a change because I was spending money faster than I could get it, and decided to go to the military and got everything, back to this little manageable ball of, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And then did 8 years in the military, enjoyed most of it, and decided it's like, you know what, it's time for another change. The stress was there. I wasn't doing the job I wanted to do, and got out and got back into film. So, yeah.
How long you been doing filming since then?
So that was 2016. I hit the ground running about 3 months after I got out. So it's been 2.5 years of just working, except for, doing the hike. But I'm still considering it working just because, shooting video, shooting pictures, doing the social media thing. Like it's fun, but it's work.
Right. I noticed your YouTube. You've got what, 4 or 5 videos?
Yeah, we don't have a lot. Definitely a lot of technical issues going into the Appalachian Trail, just because having people sign on early that didn't want to be on camera, that didn't help. But when going through the trail, I went through 3 cameras, one of them being my phone, which when you're hiking along the trail, you don't realize, oh, by the way, there's water, there's all these things that are just going to destroy your equipment.
Oh, yeah.
But, it's there are some videos that are ready to fly out, but we're trying to make sure that they're completely perfect before we put them out. And that's
right, now this is for the Wandering Kiltsman.
Right.
You put an LLC behind it.
Yeah. So we started an LLC out of Missouri, which is where my partner, he goes by Spectre Artist, but his name's Evo. He also edits and does all the really cool behind the scenes stuff that, helps it to where we can actually make videos.
Right. I'm just kind of curious, is that the ultimate goal? Is what you're doing going to be another film?
Yeah. The ultimate goal is to have enough video and content to, show exactly what it's like to be on the Triple Crown journey, to do all the long hikes, and then hopefully just have it out on YouTube so people can go in and watch it.
Excuse me.
Oh, you're fine.
When did you decide? You guys put it together as a team then, right?
Yeah.
This whole thing isn't just, this is something you want to do and you're going to go do it. You got a whole team behind you.
So the story behind the actual going, I was working in Los Angeles and I was working in film pretty regularly. And I told a couple friends that, hey, I'm leaving to take a break to go hiking for 3 years. It's going to be 10,000 miles almost, just because I needed to get out. And it had been a really bad year. It had been really expensive. When started going through a divorce, and just everything in life was changing at the moment. So I said, I'm getting out. I'm going to go hike. And when I told Evo and I told JJ and Victoria, the 2 producers that I'm working with and are awesome, by the way, hey, I'm leaving. They said, okay, we're in. And it's like, okay, cool. So what are we in for? And we started putting together the channel and doing the video and all that stuff. Because the video wasn't the initial plan. The initial plan was just to go hiking.
Right. You put something, and I like what you put on your blog about why you did it or why you were doing it.
Okay. Yeah. It's like, why would you do 7,000 miles or something like that?
Right.
If I remember. Yeah. I can't remember that at the moment. I think I wrote that like last year, I think.
You said you were doing it because you said you were going to do it. And if I say I'm going to do it, do it.
Yep. Okay. Yeah.
I like that, because I get a lot of people, you see a lot of people saying, I'm going to attempt to do this.
Yes.
And once you put that attempt in, it's like you've already instilled doubt. And it seems like you went into it with no doubt.
Oh, yeah. No, one of the things that it's not really a pet peeve, but it definitely strikes a nerve when somebody says I'm attempting a through hike, because if you're attempting something, it leaves the opportunity to fail.
Right.
But everybody does their own thing. It's great. If you're trying it, you're going to do it. Great. Then I love the fact that you're actually going to go do this hike. But when you say I'm going to do this, or I am doing this, then it's more likely you're going to succeed than if you say I'm going to attempt to do this.
Right. Exactly.
Right. So, thinking it into fruition,
Right.
Yeah.
And then your end date, there was something about that I caught that was interesting, that you finally said that somebody told you how to plan to do the AT.
Right. Yeah. So my favorite advice that I was ever given for the AT was plan everything down to the second, down to the inch and the mile, and then throw the plan away, because it's not going to matter. No matter what your plan is, it's going to change. And if you're sticking to a plan the entire time, you're going to hate your hike. So I kind of did that. I planned it down to, this is when I would like to be here, 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 and here. And then I threw that plan away because it didn't matter. And I didn't get anywhere close to what I was trying to do the entire time.
That's what I was going to ask you next. How close were you to that plan?
The initial plan was to be done before October, and I got done about 4 days short of November. So, you know,
6 months to the day, right?
6 months minus a day.
Minus
So,
a day.
Yep. So it was 1 day short. It was still a good hike. I mean, 6 months and finishing, it was snowing on top of Katahdin. It was beautiful and icy and no visibility whatsoever, but it was the perfect fall, winter day to finish.
So go ahead and tell us some of your good times on the trail.
Oh, man. There are so many stories in 6 months. Oh, I was trying to think of like good stories to share early on with this show. It'd be great if I could share pictures too, but I don't think that's happening. Let's see. If I were to talk about bears, there we go. So someone was asking me yesterday, so how many bears did you see on trail? And I said, well, I had interactions with 17. So within 6 months, I got to hang out and talk to 17 bears on trail, one way or the other. And the most memorable one was in New Jersey. I was hiking at night. It was about 1 o'clock in the morning. And I was walking along, it was pitch black, and I rolled my ankle. And, it's rocky, it's New Jersey. Laid down in the middle of the trail, was stretching out, cussing myself because, stupid enough to roll my ankle in the middle of the night in New Jersey. And I hear something off to my side. It's like, look over, got my headlamp on, don't see anything. Come back, I'm stretching, and I hear something much closer. And I sit up, and about 2 arms lengths away from me is a bear staring me right in the face.
Oh,
and so I sit up. My light hits his face. We see each other. We both jump up and go in the opposite direction of each other. So it was one of those things where it's like, oh man, we just scared the shit out of each other. It's like, my bad, dude. I was just here stretching. But yeah, I did about another mile that night, caught up with the guys I was hiking with at the time and told them what happened. They're like, dude, that's crazy. It'll be like the Jersey Devil incident. And that's what we just started calling it. Because that's what it was interesting to say the least. But yeah.
You said how many bear you met on the trail. I thought you were going to say people with trail name.
Oh, no, like actual bears. The trail names are all over the place on trail, which is cool. Like that's a great dynamic that we have on trail is, hey, this is my trail name because it's something that you don't have in most other communities. Like you don't go to work and have like nicknames unless you're, like a part of a SWAT team or something. Then it's, a very tight knit group. Whereas with the trail, it's everybody gets a trail name, whether you want it or not. And it's usually something that has to do with a story or it's attached to a story somewhere, which those are a lot of fun. It's like, oh, hey, how'd you get your trail name? Oh, I was cliff diving and I got a really big bruise on my hip. So now they call me Bruise Hip or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you're going to make sure that nobody can call you anything else.
Well, I mean, I'm not terribly worried about it. If somebody wants to give me a new trail name, then that's fine. But it probably has something to do with wearing a kilt because that's just the way it goes. But I went from being the Wandering Kiltsman down to Kiltsman, down to kilts. Anything that has to do with the word kilt, I've been called along the trail. So,
have you, in your hike on the AT, did you run into a spot like a brick wall where you just didn't think you were going to be able to do it?
Everybody does that. I mean, there's always that moment where your brain just goes, this is the worst ever. I'm not going to be able to make it through this on my own. I think the closest I really got to actually quitting, which wasn't going to happen, but in Pennsylvania, there was a stretch where it was like 18 miles where all the water sources had been taken up because of weekend hikers came up and drank all the water caches. So I did 18 miles with no water, or very little water, I should say. I had like 2 liters within 18 miles. And every time I'd come up to a water cache, it'd be empty. And it was one of those 3-day weekends. It was a holiday. And every time I'd hit a water cache, it'd be like, no, this sucks. But pushed through it, got to a road, made a phone call, got a little bit of trail magic where this guy picked me up, took me to a hostel, cost me $10 to do like shower, laundry, refill everything, recharge all my batteries and everything. And it's usually something like that that pulls you out of that wall that you're like, okay, it's not as bad.
Right.
It's just a little bit of dry. But at the same time, it was like end of August or middle August in Pennsylvania, you're going to run out of water. So, yeah.
What motivates you to keep going?
Man, that's a really good question. I think it goes along with I said I'm going to do it, so I'm going to do it. When I did have really dark moments on trail, like if I had like really, really dark times, I would post up on social media. I'd say, hey, send me motivation. And there were floods of people just sending me stuff like motivational pictures and, quotes and just sending me all sorts of things, just keep me back in the motivated mindset because people want to see you succeed. That's
right.
That's what we do. We get out there, people live vicariously through you. And if you're feeling down, they're like, no, we want you to finish because we want to see what it's like. And we want to see people succeed, which is one of the coolest things, one of my favorite parts of doing this whole thing.
Yeah. It's good. That was going to be something I was going to say. I noticed that through the social media audience, you get some trolls, but I mean, you're not going to get the trolls that are going to stick around and harass you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you get them in passing. So most of the people that you meet on social media as an audience participant of it is almost always there to have your back. I've seen quite a few people this year already that have said, I'm going to do the trail. And then for one reason or another, they have to back out. And you read the comments and it's amazing how the people respond to it.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the thing about the internet. Like you have some of the best people and some of the worst people. And those are usually the two extremes that you have following you on your page, right. Just because it's like, there's people that want to see you fail just because that's the entertainment they enjoy is they want to see failure. That's why they have fail videos. But there's also the group of people that want to see you succeed. And those are the people that you like to feed more, if that makes sense. Where it's like, hey, I want to show you success. I want to show you that I can do this stuff. I mean, we all fail in little pieces along the way, but as long as you succeed at the big picture, then that's, the most important part. Yeah.
So what was it like finally reaching Katahdin?
Oh, man. So my buddy Crash and we had been hiking together for a long time. We met down in, oh man, I can't remember names. It was in Georgia, I think. And it was it was in North Carolina, right outside of Franklin. And it had just been pouring down rain the entire time. And we had met up and we're hiking into the shelter, met up with a bunch of people and formed a band. Like we were all playing instruments and doing music, going up and down the trail. It was a lot of fun. But he and I had been hiking on and off with each other the entire trail. And when we got to Maine, it was just me and him left out of everybody that we'd been hiking with. Because everybody else had either flip-flopped, which is where you flip over to Maine and start coming south, or they had just gotten off trail entirely. And he and I were the only ones that decided to just keep going north that we knew. So since we were pushing the entire way, we had a time limit because Katahdin closes usually on October 15th.
Right.
And when we had talked to them when we got to Maine, they said, oh, no, we're staying open until November 1st since we opened later this year. It's like, okay, cool. So we have more time, but because of weather, they could shut down at any moment.
Right.
So we had to push harder and harder and harder just to get there on time because we didn't want to, miss being within the actual season of finishing and possibly never finish. So pushing up to Katahdin, going through the 100-mile wilderness, it was beautiful and amazing, but at the same time kind of sucked being on a time limit. So when we finally got done, it was more of a, thank God we're finally done. We're not having to push as hard, and we're not going to, get injured anymore, be sick anymore. Like I had lost down to 178 pounds. That was right. I had hypothermia while I was in Maine. So it was one of those things where it's like, okay, running out of money, running out of food, got to be done. All the hostels are closed. The only ones that were open was Shaw's Hostel in Maine, and they helped us out with a halfway resupply in 100 Mile Wilderness. But once that was done, that was it. There was nothing else. There was nothing open until we got down off the mountain and into town up in, outside of Baxter. So it was a wonderful experience. And like, you get up to the top, you finish, you touch the sign after forever, and then you feel your range of emotions from happiness to sadness, anger to love, all the, like, everything in between. And then you go, man, it's really cold up here. I need to get down, let my beard thaw out, and get back to civilization for a minute.
Hey, Buckeye, how you doing? So, after you got done with Katahdin, what was next? Or after you got done with the AT, what was after that?
Oh man, a lot of recovery. So I put myself through a lot of injuries to get done, just because like I said, if I say I'm going to finish, I'm going to finish. I broke a small bone in my wrist, which was a lot of fun. For doing the last 70 miles with a broken bone is all fun. Not really. I don't recommend it.
Did you get it taken care of before you went up? Hey, Maddie.
By the time I went and got it checked, it was too late. They said they wouldn't be able to do anything. So I had wrapped it in an ace wrap and tried to baby it as much as I could, but there's only so much I could do about it. Yeah. So I was talking about something. My tangent just completely skipped. When I was coming back, there we go. So my dad was really cool and came up to Millinocket and picked us up and brought us back down through Tennessee, so that way Crash can get back to his place down in Florida. And when I got back, it was just a matter of, I wasn't allowed to really walk around too much because I was, letting my ankles heal, get back to normal. I was eating everything I could find to get back up to a healthy weight again. And then trying to catch up. I'm still working on postcards to send those out as thank yous to everybody. Getting everything on the merchandise store up and working properly, since it wasn't working properly on trail. Talking to my team every week. It's like, okay, so what do we want to do? We're working on a book. It's still in the works. It's just a matter of getting it done correctly to where it's not $90 per book to sell to everybody.
Right.
It's just been a whirlwind of business and, reacclimating to society, which I'm not in a big hurry to reacclimate to be honest. I'm ready to get back out on trail.
Yeah, I was going to say, you posted a resignation letter.
Yeah.
Was that just recently?
Yeah, I think that was like yesterday or 2 days ago. Yeah. No, it was one of those things where it's like, social media is a beautiful double-edged sword, which I'm not a big fan of, but it's our culture right now, which one of the big facets of what I'm trying to do is detaching from the culture. We are materialistic. We have collections of stuff. We hang on to everything. We have debt because we want to buy all the new things that everybody else has. We have these giant houses that we use 1% of for most of the day, and the rest of the time we're at work trying to pay for the rest of the house and the stuff that goes in that house. So for me, I would rather be at a point of, I don't have debt. I don't have all this material stuff that I'm having to cram into places, and a huge house where I have to take care of everything 1,000% of the time, where I can travel or go see new places and do new things. And it's very counterculture. It's not something that most people see as normal, but they'll say that they would love to do that, but they can't because of XYZ. And it's usually, oh, I have a job, I've got a house, I've got, all these things that fall into the normal life. And that was the whole point behind the resignation letter. It's like, yeah, I'm not going to do that anymore.
And basically, you're making your traveling your job.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'm going to say the bad thing is about not liking social media. Dang, you need to have it, though, in order to get out what you're doing. Right.
Like I said, it's a double-edged sword, because social media brings more light to, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. And 10,000 miles in 3 years, a lot of people find it really cool. And I love the fact that it inspires some people, even though all I'm doing is just, walking. I get to go out and take pictures of really cool landscapes, and I get to unplug for a while and actually show people what I'm doing. But yeah, social media, like what we had talked about earlier, where it's become really political. There's a lot of negativity, and everybody's got their negative opinions online, and it's really good to just be like, no, I'm good. You stay over there.
Hey, whoops, there we go again, hitting it again.
Yep.
Like Buckeye said about it.
Exactly. Don't be a slave.
And I think about that a lot of times when I'm watching the through hikers doing it, and even the weekend hikers, that, like you were saying, everybody's materialistic. That in the real world, everybody's materialistic. You got to have the nice car, the nice house, everything fancy in the house. And then you get out there hiking and you realize this back here is all you really need.
Yep.
You don't need all that stuff.
Oh yeah, no, and it's a crazy transition coming back too, because you're used to just your stuff, and you can pack up everything really quickly, and you can move on and do whatever you need to do. And then every day you're in a new location with your house, basically, that you've carried there, all of the food that you need, like everything that you need, you've carried with you the entire time. And then like coming back to Tennessee, I've got 6 boxes worth of stuff, which feels like too much stuff, It's like, okay, I've got 6 boxes worth of things. How can I get it down to 3 boxes worth of stuff? So that way, when I move into an RV at some point, so I can keep traveling, then I'm not moving 6 boxes. I'm only moving 3 boxes in a backpack.
Right. I touched on somebody the other day. I remember late 20s, early 30s, when I didn't have anything tying me down to one place where I had to stay, that I had it down to a science how to get everything I owned into 2 underneath and 1 carry-on.
Yep.
Greyhound bus was the way I went everywhere.
Yep. Now, one of the lawyers I talked to this month, he was telling me that the greatest time he ever had was when he was bicycling, and he was living out of his car because he named off like the clothes that he owned at the time, and that was it. He just had the clothes, and I was bicycling every day, and I loved every second of it. That's a long comment. Like in 30 years. Monitors be very materialistic. Yeah, everybody's obsessed with gear, like 100%, because it's a really big market to get people to get in and buy backpacks, which I'm very fortunate that I do have some in-kind sponsors that help me out with gear. And, it's great where somebody says, here, try this out for free, tell me what you think, or try this out on a discount and tell me what you think, because I can actually go in and say, okay, this is what I actually think of this gear. It works really well for X, Y, and Z, but doesn't work well for, the rest of the stuff. What's up, Moses? I know that name.
What's up, Unpaved? Who's that? Jake the Snake?
Yep.
Okay.
Moses hiked with me, man, because we met at that shelter, and we hiked together up until Virginia, like late into Virginia. I have you guys 20 years old and still serving me well. Good.
Yeah, this week. I just got my first actual backpack for Christmas. My kid bought me one. Free night, 60 liter.
Nice.
Yeah, $40 off of Amazon.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what though? It's perfect for, like my name says, new hiker. It's perfect for that. Somebody who wants to see if this is something they want to do. And a lot of the gear is so high that somebody's telling me just get it piece by piece. Well,
oh yeah. Well, it depends on what you're doing too. If you're committing to a really long trail, then you're going to want to have everything right up front. But as you go along, you figure out exactly what it is you really need, and you drop stuff and pick stuff up. Hey, and there's Crash. So Crash is hiking the Florida Trail with me. He finished the AT with me. He's doing the CDT with me. And as long as we can figure out the funding part, he's doing the PCT with me too.
Right on.
So, yeah. Again, he's a lot cooler person than I am, though.
The Adventure guy says makes a lot of what he uses. That's what I really like to get into. I was telling you earlier about the tools that I was selling that I was waiting on that guy.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I have these tools is because I was into bushcrafting for a while, but the only knife I had was big as my damn arm.
Right.
I couldn't use that. And I'm like, I'm not paying that much money for a knife. So I ended up spending that much money for the tools and made a knife.
Right. Well, but then you can make a bunch of knives and start selling those.
Yeah, that's what my plans were. But we ended up moving into a house that has no garage. So
Right.
I kind of shot that idea.
Yeah.
So what's next for you?
Okay. So coming up in the very near future, I'm not going to put out specific dates just because there are weird people out there. But coming up within the next couple weeks, I'll be on the Florida Trail with Crash. We're going to start, I believe we're going to go northbound. So start out this southern terminus and come all the way up. It's 1,200 miles. Should be done into April or end of March into April. And then we're going to switch over to the CDT and do the complete northbound of that. So
how many miles is it total?
I think looking at the math, it's like 4,100 and change. I can't remember exactly. It's a nice short year.
Yeah. I was going to say, it definitely can be done because you had, I can't, his name escapes me now. Older gentleman did half of the AT and then jumped over, and was it the Pacific Crest? He did half of that.
Okay.
And back over and finished the AT, and then jumped back over and finished the Pacific Crest all in 1 year.
Right. There was a young lady that did it this year, and I forget her name, but it was a crazy feat. Or I say crazy, it's an amazing feat because you take all three trails and you're able to do all three within a year. That's outstanding. that's almost 8 or 9,200 miles in 12 months. That's a lot of walking.
Criminy, how many miles a day was she doing?
I couldn't tell you. That had to be doing at least 20s every day for 12 months.
I just did 10 this weekend. Like I said, I'm a new hiker, and that about killed me. But then again, I also had about 35 pounds of gear on my back that I'm not used to carrying around.
Right. Yeah. Now, one of the stories that me and Crash were telling a lot there toward the end, we had gotten separated because I stayed back to hike with somebody that ended up getting off trail, and I had to catch up to him and our buddy Swan up in the White Mountains. So I did Vermont, the entire Appalachian Trail section of Vermont in 7 days. And one of those days was a 32-mile day.
Right.
Her hike was crazy. Buckeye, do you remember her name though? That would be really good to know, because it was really cool to read because I was in the middle of hiking the trail when I read it. But yeah, so I did 7 days. It was 147 miles, and 4 of those days were over a marathon. So I think I had 2 days that were over 30 miles, and the other 2 were like 27, 28 miles.
Holy cow.
Yeah, I was in a really good stride.
I guess you actually had your legs about you for sure.
Oh yeah. No, once I got up into Vermont, I had, slowed down enough that there we go. Jumped over, did part of the CDT, PCT, back finish, shot over, did the rest of PCT. Yeah, that is really, really cool. Like I don't think I would do that. I might, but at the moment I probably wouldn't do that. But yeah, we can. The long trails are getting longer. There's so many of them and so many that we can choose from. I'm excited to do the Florida Trail as a warm-up, even though it's not a warm-up. It's actually a really decent hike. Start. She's Triple Crown. Yeah.
So she did Triple Crown before and then did the Turkey?
Yeah, she's a triple crowner. Yeah, that's cool. May I heckle y'all from the Peanut Gallery? Sure. Oh, yeah. Crash. Crash, you need to be adding to this conversation, man. I'm pretty sure you were there. The marathon is a good day. When I broke the first 20, it was North Carolina, I believe. And the people that I was hiking with, they said, hey, we're going to do like 21 miles into town. And the girl that I was hiking with was really, really upset at the fact that she was doing anything over like 10 miles at the time, but ended up doing it, got into town. And it was just one of those things where like, hey, we did over 20 miles. And it was really cool that early in the trail, and everybody was super excited about it. And then, we tapered back off, started doing 15, 16, 17, 18, and then eventually built back up to where it's like, okay, if we do anything less than 20, it's a short day.
That's a Nero.
Right, exactly. Which I hate that term, the Nero zero thing. But it's like you have to think in those terms, especially when you're on a timeline. So uh, I think there at the end, me and Crash were going through the whites. We had days where we did 6 miles in a day, and that's just because that's the terrain. It only lets you do 6 miles in a day. But there was also times where it's like, hey, we're going to hit 24 today. We're going to hit 26 today. And then we'd hit as close to it as we could, or we would hit our mark. And that was the best part. Heather Anish Anderson. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I've heard that name now that you put it out there. I didn't know the story behind it, but I heard her name before.
Yeah.
You're talking about when you get up and you decide miles. How do you guys figure that out?
Oh, okay. So just one of the calculators you have going on in your head the entire time is how many miles do I have left? How many miles have I done? And how many miles per day do you have to do to get to where you're going? So you know how many days you have left usually. And it's just simple math. I've got this many miles, this many days. It's this divided by this, and this is how many miles I need to hit today. Or if I want to be able to take a day off, I add mileage to it. So it got to the point where it's like, oh man, if we don't get 20 miles a day for the rest of the time, we're not going to make it. And then we had called Baxter, and they said, oh no, we're open until the 1st. So we got to push it back a week to where we only had to do like 15 miles a day, which made it to where we weren't doing, super dangerous stuff. Yeah.
You actually had 3 different finish dates you had in mind. You had your original date, and then you found out that, what was it?
Right.
Somebody told you that it was only open so long, and then they told you, no, we're open longer. And then they had the 3rd one was when the weather.
Right. So the very first date I had was October 1st, and that's because we were supposed to be shooting a movie in Hawaii that ended up getting put on the shelf for a while just because didn't have funds for it, didn't have everybody together on the same page to shoot this movie. So as soon as we had said, okay, we're just going to put this on hold for now, that opened me up to October 15th, which was the initial closing day for Baxter. So I said, you know what, let's get there October 14th, gives us a day, we'll be able to finish, and we'll beat the weather. And once I caught up with everybody in New Hampshire, we started making phone calls and stuff and figuring out, when are we going to be able to finish? And it became October 22nd. And then we called and actually talked to Baxter State Park, and they said, oh no, we're up until the 1st. So we pushed it back to the 26th. So it was just one of those, the finish line was there, but we were kind of procrastinating to get there just because, killing yourself in mileage every day, not being able to enjoy the experience, it was nicer to actually just stretch it out.
Yeah, and then you were getting injuries having to try to rush yourself along the path.
Oh, yeah. The biggest injury cause was my trekking poles, because you're supposed to replace the tips every 1,000 miles or so, depending on the trekking pole. And the ones that I was using going through New Hampshire and Maine, the carbide tips had ripped off. So I went to go plant and wasn't, steady at all, because the terrain going through the end of New Hampshire, beginning of Maine is straight up and down. Like you're going up and down. Right. And I planted to sit, and my poles went out, my feet went out, and I went straight down and, found myself on really sharp rocks and cutting myself up and breaking a bone and all that stuff.
I was say, is that when you broke your wrist?
Yeah.
No, what caused that? Was that landing on the rock, or did it have anything with how your hand was placed in the strap?
Oh, no, I don't use the straps. I'm one of those weird people. I don't use the straps on the pole. But when I came down, I threw the sticks out so that way I wouldn't stab myself, which wouldn't have mattered anyway because I figured out. And I came down straight, and with the rock hitting right here, just jammed it straight up in. Is there a guide available for long trails when a permit is required? Do you carry all the various permits from start to finish? Okay, so permits. For the Appalachian Trail, the permit system is when you go to the start, you get a tag like this thing right here. As I kill myself. you have that tag. It says, hey, I'm on the trail. I'm starting. I'm going to go from, start to finish. And you get to places like Great Smoky Mountains, Shenandoah, and Baxter. You're going to go in and you're going to sign up. You're going to say, hey, I'm going to do this particular part of trail. Or sorry, go to the website and sign up saying that you're going to do that particular part of trail and get a permit number. When you're going through, the trail runners will come up and ask you if you have a permit. If you give them that number, then they can look it up and say, okay, yeah, you're supposed to be here. Be safe. This is what's going on with the animals and stuff in the area, and then you keep moving. If you go in and you don't have a permit, it's not like they're going to throw you in jail or anything. They're just going to come up and say, hey, do you have a permit? What's your name? Do you have your ID? They're going to check it. They're going to radio it in, get you a permit number, and then when you get done, you have to pay them back, or else they email you and call you until you do, which when I went through the Smokies, that's what happened to me, and I ended up paying them like a month later. But it's just one of those things. They're not out there to, throw everybody in jail. If you're through hiking it, they're excited for what you're doing, but they still want you to, contribute your part since you're taking up so much of their trail.
Now, when you start the AT and you register there, they're pretty good about explaining where you're going to need special permits to go through, right?
Oh, yeah. There's a ton of information at ATC. So when you first get to Amiclola or first get to Baxter, you say, hey, I'm hiking, the full trail. They're going to tell you how to do a bear hang. They're going to tell you how to bury your poop, how to do all this stuff that you don't normally think about until you're actually out on trail. And then they, as far as permits and everything, they'll say, yeah, you're going to need it here, 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 and here, but you're going to get reminded about it the entire way there. Because the network system between the hikers is, hey, did you hear about this weather that's coming up? Okay, did you hear about these animal things that are coming up? Did you hear about these shelters that are closed or opened? Or this place where you can order pizza from? So when it comes to like permits and everything, when you're within like 100 miles or so of the national parks where they actually have like strict permitting, everybody's gonna be talking about it. And they're gonna say, hey, well, this is what you need to do. And this is the last hostel that you can make the phone call and print out the paperwork, or you can, go online and actually do it from, depending on who your carrier is on your phone. So if you're getting ready to go into a permitted area, just make sure you have it on your phone. And if for whatever reason it doesn't work and you run into a trail runner, they'll look it up for you. And they're all cool people. Like I didn't meet a single bridge runner ranger that was like, a dick or anything like that.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's one thing I noticed that I really like about the hiker community is that in the real world, everybody's about me. And when you get out in the hiking community, it's all, how can I help you? This is what I can do for you or something.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you think about it in like terms of, we're all professional athletes. When you get out on trail and you're doing this long hike, like we all know what we're doing. We've done the research, or we haven't done the research. We just jumped in, but you're still making it X far. Once you make it past 50, 60, 70 miles, it's, I'm a professional. I know what I'm doing. And I'm going to try to help you out as far as I can. And when it's professionals helping other professionals, it's not so much trading knowledge anymore. It's like, oh, hey, what do you need to get it farther? I have extra food. I've got, extra toilet paper, extra whatever. I can give this to you. And thank you for, spending time with me so I can keep my mentality up. That's just one of those things where it's like, okay, I haven't been around people in, 2 weeks. It's great to hang out, and what can I do to help you out along your trail?
Right.
Yeah.
Guy's got a question here.
Oh, okay. Did you have any high winds? Yeah. A storm. So me and Crash had a great time when we did, well, there's a few in the White Mountains, but when we went over Mount Washington and did that summit day, it was beautiful up on top of Mount Washington. But we were waiting for our friends to show up, who ended up being behind us by about half a day. So we waited longer than we should have and started going off of Mount Washington at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, 5 o'clock in the afternoon in September in the Whites means that the sun's setting in like 20 minutes. So we're up above 5,000 feet. It's getting cold. It's getting dark. And we start going over Mount Madison, which for those that have done long hikes, Mount Madison is the worst mountain on the trail. It's all jagged rocks. It's straight up and down. You're literally rock climbing up and down. And we ended up hitting the summit for Madison at midnight. It was snowing. and the wind gusts were up to 20 miles per hour or something like that, because we were getting blown in the face, knocked over, and we'd been hiking since like 10 o'clock that morning. So yeah, the wind in the whites will come out of nowhere, and it'll hit you hard, and it's very humbling, where you'll find a rock that's about the size of you, just so you can hide behind it for a little bit, so that way you're not as cold for a while. Yeah, the weather was moving in. We needed off the mountain. We ended up, there are stealth spots within the whites, which the rangers there, they really don't want you to use, but sometimes you don't have a choice. And we had just come down off of Madison. We were just gunning for the tree line. And it was about 3 o'clock in the morning. We finally got to the tree line, and we found a stealth spot that was just perfect enough for 2 tents. And we put in there. It's like, you know what? I'm not getting up. Whatever time we wake up is what time we wake up. I'm not worried about the mileage for the next day. The fact that we survived Madison, because when I say it's like straight up and down, you're climbing down things like the size of trucks and box trucks. Like you're climbing off of houses, and they're all jagged rocks. And if you slip and fall, like you're in a bad day. Took the first stealth spot. Yeah, it was crazy. It was windy. We were trying to beat the weather. That's exactly right. We were trying to get past the rain, because it was supposed to rain that entire morning, and it ended up hitting us like as soon as we got set up, like just nonstop downpour. Yeah, good times.
Now, I want to go back to, you were talking about the band that you were hanging out with. What instrument did you play?
So I carried a backpacking guitar. I started out with the Walmart special, and I call it that because it was $20 from Walmart online. And it was a 6-string guitar. It was terrible. It sounded like garbage until you got it soaking wet, and then it sounded like a real guitar for some reason. When when I would pull it out, people would come by. We'd just start playing the guitar, pass it around. People actually knew how to play guitar, because I'm still not that good. You know, I can play like 2 songs, and it drives everybody crazy. But if you have enough people there, like there's people that know how to play guitar. Right. So you pass it around, everybody starts playing, different people play percussion, you sing along to songs that everybody knows. And then, you know, it's one of those things where it's not a normal occurrence on trail to run into a bunch of people with instruments that want to sing and have a good time. It's usually people like, I'm headed toward this direction, I've got to get there. So when it was originally 8 of us that got together and started hiking, we would have a good time, and people would hear about us up the trail, because there's people that are faster than us, and they would, what 2 songs can you play? What? Yeah, the ones that I wrote, they're not good. I'll put them up later though. They'll be on my channel at some point, I'm sure. Each in our band had a solid 2 songs they could play. Yes, very true. So it was one of those things where we'd show up into camp, and there would already be people there going, "Hey, you guys are the band," because they would see the guitar, because I can't put it in the backpack. It's got to be on the backpack. And it's like, yeah, we're the band. I guess we're playing music. And we'd pull out and start, you know, getting food ready while playing music, and, you know, have a good time. We had people that we show up later in the day, and it would, like, the sun would be going down. We'd feel kind of bad that we'd be, you know, playing music kind of loud, and the next morning they'd be like, "Dude, that was the coolest thing ever. We appreciate you guys playing music and stuff." And yep, Los Hobos, that was our band name. So we yeah, we had a pretty good following, and it was a lot of fun. And there was actually some people that said like their favorite moments was saying, you know, we loved watching or listening to you guys play music, just because it was like the most entertainment we had on trail so far, which is huge. Yeah. Hobo Island. Yeah. So in between, there's a place called the Knock. It's Nantahala Outdoor Center, and there's a store, and there's a restaurant and all this stuff. And there's a hostel there, but the hostel wasn't exactly cheap for thru hikers. So we got into town, and we're like, okay, so where do we want to stay? And we heard about this place called Hobo Island. And Hobo Island is actually an island in the river that you can walk to. You do like a really quick 2-step water, you know, traverse, and you get on this island. There's fire rings, and it's a sandy island where you can set up hammocks and tents and stuff. And they, you get in there, there's nobody else around. You're surrounded by water that's rushing the entire time. And it's like, you know what? We're going to stay up until we want to go to sleep and just play music and not have to worry about, getting people upset. What is this? Do you rely or plan on trail magic or water caches when you're out on the trail? Do you do resupply drops on the trail? Ooh, so never plan for trail magic, because that's the whole point of trail magic. Trail magic is somebody has decided, you know what, this weekend I'm going to go out and I'm going to feed or water trail or, hikers. And if you rely on trail magic, you're going to be really upset, because when you're looking for it, will not be there. It's one of those things where like you ask the mountain, it's like, man, I really need this. And then all of a sudden it shows up. That's like the real magic of the trail. If you haven't experienced it yet, you will. You just have to, get in the right mindset and you'll experience that coincidental, like happens too often to be a coincidence kind of trail magic. But as far as like resupply trail magic, there's a few times where I came up to somebody that was, just hanging out, and they're like, here's a beer, here's a Powerade, a Gatorade, here's some trail mix or something. And it was amazing and awesome. And it made it to where I didn't have to dig so much into my food bag that I just resupplied out town not too long ago. But as far as resupplies, you can do a couple different things. A lot of people do bounce boxes, which is where you go to one big store, buy a bunch of food, put it into a box, and send it up the trail to where you're going to end up at. It's a good way to do it. It saves money. But for me, I would go into town, just whatever the next town was. I would get 5-6 days worth of food, and I would just carry that. And it would cost a little bit more, but it ends up being about the same, just because you're either paying for postage or you're paying for the extra cost at the stores. I say that until you get up into the Northeast, and then you're just paying extra. Everything just costs more the further you get up toward Maine, just because it costs more. I don't know the exact reasons why. It gets more expensive.
I was gonna say you quit smoking halfway through the trail, you said, and I was just sitting there when you said that. I was thinking, yeah, well, when you got into New York area, you'd be quitting.
Yeah. No. One of the best things I did was quitting smoking. Like it saves a ton of money. You feel like garbage when you smoke. Don't do it. Do you consider someone singing and playing an instrument on trail a type of trail magic? If they're good at it, sure. I mean, no. Yeah, I'm sure there's times where it's like, if it's rainy, if it's, it's a really long day, you feel bad, whatever reason, music, having people, having an upbeat feeling around you, that's definitely a trail magic, because it brings you up to the place where you were, like when you do a summit, and it's like, okay, so I'm having this great high, I'm feeling awesome, but I have to keep hiking. And then you hike down and you don't have another summit for that day, or you don't have another major like benchmark that day, and you feel yourself coming down. If there's somebody playing music and you're enjoying yourself around the campfire, then absolutely, that's like as magical as it gets.
Yeah, I think it would depend on what's going on in your brain and what they're playing, because I mean, if you're sitting there missing home and they're playing a sad song, that's just really going to eat you up.
Yeah, well, that, or it brings you like into that perfect feeling of, okay, yeah, I'm a little bit homesick, but yeah, this is like the feeling that I want to have at this moment. Right. Instead of, having somebody like throw like the happiest song in the world at you when you're trying not to be, at that level at that time.
Right. Got to be a balance somewhere else.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Good questions.
What was I thinking? Your merch.
Okay.
You go to look at that.
Okay, so hold on one sec. So on the website, www.wanderingkiltsman.com, if you click on the merchandise, it'll take you to our Etsy page, which if you buy one, it's not going to have this on it. Just know that. And you can get there's hats and shirts, and I think we have stickers and a bunch of really cool stuff that actually helps with supporting me and my team for getting all the stuff. There you go. So wanderingkiltsman.com, and there's the blog, there's links to all the social media, Like you can go on there, see all the cool merchandise stuff that we're coming out with fairly often. We don't update it too much just because it does cost money to put up, new merchandise in Etsy, which is where it's actually processed through.
Right. All the links that you have, I think I've got them all down below. I've got the website, Facebook, Twitter. You still using that?
I do have it. I have the Twitter. I'm not on there as often.
I was going to say, we were talking about how political Facebook was, and I looked up, I'm like, but you got a Twitter.
Yeah. No, I've had a Twitter for a long time. So this is my third attempt at a production company, and I've had Twitter the entire time. But I'm not a huge fan of social media in general. But if I do get on, and I get on Twitter like every couple weeks as opposed to every day like most people, I will go on and find where people have mentioned or commented, and I will go on and answer everything that I can when I'm on there. I say that for now. There's not a lot of interaction on Twitter.
I know. I tried signing up for Twitter when I started this channel, and I went there and I'm doing the hashtag search. I'm like, there's really not that big of a hiking following on Twitter.
Yeah, well, I think it's a different, I'm not going to say breed, but it's a different cut of cloth of people for, the hiking community. Most people that are in the actual hardcore, I'm going hiking every week, or I'm doing the long hikes and stuff like that, they're not as tethered to social media. Usually there are people out there that do it because it's, part of their brand, part of what they're trying to get accomplished, part of their message.
And if they are tethered to social media, 99% of them, I'd say, are in Instagram.
Oh yeah. Well, Instagram's where the money is. And that's just a very blunt way to say it, because if you have Instagram followers and you have enough of them, you can capitalize on that fact, because companies will say, here's a free thing. Tell us what you think. Here's a couple dollars just to mention our product. Well, I haven't gotten to that point yet, but it'd be really cool when it does happen. But if you have enough following on Instagram, which is the big ticket item right now, then companies look at you first and say, okay, well, how can we use this person to put our product along? Which is a good and bad thing, I guess. That's what a Q&A is for. Yes. Sorry. Wow.
Oh, anything else you want to mention after you get a drink?
Well, man, I can talk for days about the through hikes and stuff. Oh man, we were talking earlier about mentality, and I had a discussion with somebody the other day about there was a point where I was hiking alone, and I was hiking alone for 20 days or 25 days, something like that. And the mind does really crazy stuff to you when you're on trail. And there was a point when I was hiking alone where I hadn't seen anybody in like 2 or 3 days, which on the Appalachian Trail is unheard of. Like you see people constantly. Right. And after 2 or 3 days, my mind started trying to convince me that I had died at some point, because I hadn't seen anybody. I was alone. I was miserable. I was doing really good mileage and I wasn't hurting. So it was like, okay, so what is wrong with, everything that's going on? And it was just one of those things where it's like, okay, so the mind plays with you enough that your reality starts, shifting around and you can't quite figure out what's real or not. And then I ran into somebody, we started talking. It's like, okay, so I'm not dead. I'm just, out in the middle of the woods. It was one of those really weird instances.
When you said that, my first thought was that movie Left Behind.
Mm-hmm.
That was my first thought. It's like, oh man, did everybody else go?
Right. It's like, oh man, that kind of sucks. I'm stuck here in nature all alone. Oh wait, no, that doesn't sound bad at all. Oh man. How many states have you hiked in? I'm trying to hike in every state. Wondering your experience hiking in different landscapes. Hiked in. I've hiked in a lot of the states. I've been to a lot of states. I still haven't been to Alaska or North Dakota yet. They're on my list. But experience hiking in different landscapes. So every state has its different challenges in it. Just know that, like, when you go to different states, that excuse me, whatever you think about that state as far as a stereotypical thing is, once you get into the the backwoods part of it, it's nothing like that. Like I wasn't expecting swamps in Pennsylvania or New Jersey. I wasn't expecting, plains in New York. I wasn't expecting the types of mountains that were in Pennsylvania. I'd never been to New Hampshire or Maine before. It was really like physically exhausting, but at the same time rewarding terrain to hike on. Because like the harder the terrain it is, the prettier it is, because there's not a lot of buildings there. There's not going to be a lot of people in there tearing up the landscape. So you actually get to see a lot of really cool stuff that most people don't get to see. Yeah.
The reason he asked another day's walk is Poncho. I've interviewed him for the podcast before, and he's going to be back next week. One of his goal is to eventually hike every state in the United States. Whether it's just a little trail, but he plans on hiking at least somewhere in every state in the United States.
Oh, good deal. Yeah. Some of the best hiking I had was in the Northeast, of course. There's a lot of really pretty stuff in Arizona, New Mexico, Southern California. Haven't hiked in North California yet, but I have gone into Sequoia and redwoods and hung out for a bit. They're pretty. It's really touristy. You're going to see a lot of people. Midwest, there's hiking, but you have to go off of the beaten path a little bit to find the good stuff. Texas does have some good hiking, but again, it's off the beaten path and it's a lot of desert. Make sure you do your research first for every single place and talk to somebody local. Don't talk to somebody online that did their research and hasn't been there yet.
Have you looked to the Oregon Desert Trail?
I have not.
Pepperjack, he's getting ready to hike that here soon. If I remember correctly, it's like a brand new trail.
Okay.
That they just got done with it, and it's a long trail.
No, I'm questioning you out, but the next one was favorite spot on the AT that I didn't expect. Oh man. So I wasn't ready for the Grayson Highlands. I wasn't expecting that. It's a really pretty bald area where there's wild ponies and longhorn steer and stuff that just hang out there. But it's one of those that if you didn't know about it beforehand and you get up to it, you walk out and all of a sudden you just see mountains. You're walking through this green tunnel forever, and then all of a sudden it's open and you can see exactly where you're going to for 4 or 5 miles. And it's really cool because it's a rolling hill of a mountain climb. It's not like the White Mountains where, yes, you can see where you're going, but you're climbing the entire time. It's one of those where you see this huge, grandiose landscape and you're literally just rolling on over it. Oregon Cactus National Monument.
Sure, if that's part of it. I know he said it's in a W shape, and I want to say it's in the southern part of Oregon.
Yeah. Any part of the Florida Trail. I mean, yes, but only as a tourist. I know my buddy Crash, who's Lightspeed 77 right now. He's done a few pieces of it just because he's there. It's in his backyard almost.
And you're getting ready to do that here shortly, right?
Oh yeah, and I'm really looking forward to it just because the Appalachian Trail is considered the hardest of the 3 trails as far as the Triple Crown is concerned, and it really is because you're going up and down the entire time. It's very rare that you're walking on flat land. And the Florida Trail is the opposite of that. So it's going to be a nice warm up of doing 1,200 miles almost of just flat land. I'm looking forward to that part.
Now you've seen videos of ocean to lake or lake to ocean.
I have, and I've heard about a bunch of people that have done it too. Which
is the Florida Trail anything like that?
I have no idea. I'm excited to find out though.
For days.
I'm sorry.
It seems like you're walking in water for days. Every video I've seen recently, it's nothing but a soup hole.
Oh, well, I mean, that's, I guess, part of the beast. Because with Pennsylvania, there was a point, there's a trail that says take the dry path or the wet path.
Oh.
And for the people that have gone through there, they know what it is. If you go the wet path, there's a it's a beaver bog, but what happened was there's a beaver dam that was built like 3 years ago by beavers, and it's overflown and been flooded for those last 3 years. Well, if you walk through it right now, it comes up to your knees, and you just get soaked the entire way through. So I'm expecting it to be like that. Did you have a spiritual moment like some through hikers have talked about? I'm going to say yes. If you're in the right state of mind and you're able to go completely internal, be in the moment, like do what you're supposed to do on trail, more than likely you'll experience an either awakening moment, spiritual moment, whatever you want to call it, just because it's not something that the normal person does, and it's an extreme. And whenever you put the body through an extreme, you have those moments.
It could be North Carolina. The reason I was thinking Florida is probation termination was the first one that I seen do it, and I know he lives in Florida.
Oh yeah, no, that is North Carolina. That's what you're talking about. Okay, yeah, because it starts like at the AT almost, or on the AT, and goes all the way out to the coast. So that one would be cool. I think it's actually part of the American Discovery Trail, something like that. The one that goes from North Carolina to California and back. I could be wrong.
Is that one that goes through Kansas?
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes right through the town I live in. And I've seen it on a map the other day, and I'm like, it's roads. It's all roads.
Yeah, lots of road walking, which from what I understand, there's like a lot of road walking on the CDT. There's a bit of road walking on the PCT. There's like maybe 4 sections on the AT where you're actually walking, on the road. And one of them is through Dartmouth, and you're going into this college town, and you're walking along the road, and it's like you're seeing all these cars and all these people, and you're like, man, I feel really out of place, but they're all super excited to see you just because they're used to seeing hikers there all the time.
Right.
It's like, it's a weird experience. If you're getting ready to do the AT, just live up that college town. It's amazing.
I was like, I came off a little hike I did this weekend, and I planned on going one way, and there's a property dispute over the trail. It's a rail type thing, and it's recently being built, and they're having a property dispute over it. Well, I didn't realize that in the middle of the trail, you're done. You either get off and walk around different roadway or turn around and go back. Well, Conor McGregor was fighting Cowboy Cerrone that night, so I turned around and went back.
Right.
I get to the trailhead, and here I am with my backpack and sleeping bag hanging off of it, and it's about noon, 1 o'clock, and my daughter messages me, "Where are you at?" I said, "I'm at the trailhead. Can you come pick me up, because these people in this town are going to think I'm homeless."
Yep. Well, I mean, that's what we are. Once you're, backpacking, like you're in the backwoods, you are, homeless. Have you been on trail in which you had to do a lot of bushwhacking due to a lot of overgrowth? I had to, and it was so miserable, it drains your energy really quickly. So yes, there was actually sections in Pennsylvania where I'm not going to dog on anybody there, but the trail had overgrown quite a bit. I had talked to the guy that was doing the maintenance there, and he said, yeah, we go out at the beginning of the season, and then we don't do it anymore for the rest of the year. It's like, that doesn't really make sense to me, but okay. But it's one of those where it's like the sticky nettles are growing over the trail, and when you get them into your skin, they just kind of, they dig in, everything gets swollen. It's just a terrible day. But yeah, no, having overgrown makes it dangerous, more so just because you're not seeing the rocks that you're going to be stepping on. It's, extremely draining. It's not a good feeling. I know exactly what you're talking about.
What reasoning would be behind that, not doing it?
He said that they didn't want to take care of the trail for the hunters that are coming through. But it's like, the whole point is there's still people doing the trail all the way up until the end of October. Some people even do it through December.
Right.
So if your entire commitment to the AT is, hey, I'm going to take care of this 8-mile section, but you only do it the one time and then just say, screw it, then you should probably give it to somebody else that wants to do it. That was something that I talked to a couple of the ridge runners about, and talked to the guy that was actually in charge of that section about. It's like, okay, well, if you're not going to do it, then why don't you just hand it over to somebody that will do it? But there's a lot of contention in that particular area, more drama than there should be on a trail.
Oh, I'm covered bring up somebody messages.
Yeah, there's quite a few.
Okay.
You guys are awesome, by the way. Thanks for showing up. And
I clicked on it. Where'd it go? There it is.
Oh, I'm the king of getting lost on every trail that I've been on. Do you have any stories of you getting lost? Yes, of course. If you don't get lost, you're doing it wrong. We have a hiker or homeless game. Yes, we do. So me, Crash, and a couple of our friends were in just after the Grayson Highlands when it was going back into the regular trail. The actual trail markers themselves you aren't paying attention to because you're too busy looking at everything around you. And we took a left instead of going straight, which we were supposed to go straight. And we got 2.5 miles off trail, and we're hanging out with these longhorn steer, and we're looking around. It's like, this doesn't feel like the AT. Like, there's a feeling to the AT. You know when you're on trail and when you're not, because like after a while, you know what's been trotted on by 2,000 people and what hasn't been.
Right.
So we're standing there and we're like, this doesn't feel right. We pulled up gut hooks, we pulled up the GPS, and we're looking at it, and it's like, okay, so where are we? And we had been 4 miles off trail that we weren't paying attention to, which made it an interesting hike back up. It made it an 18-mile day instead of a 16-mile day, but it wasn't that bad.
I want to go back to something real quick because there's a few people in here that don't know about your past. The Hawaii.
Okay.
Do you want to tell people about the movie?
Sure. So one of the projects that I was fortunate to work on, my buddy Greg Wong, who goes by Spartan117 GW online, he put together this really cool project called Jurassic World Exodus, and it had to do with all the major airsofters, gun reviewers, like the major players in the gun game on YouTube. And we decided we were going to go to Hawaii, Arizona, and Los Angeles to shoot just different parts of this short film that we shot online. And it's for free. If you want to go look it up, by all means, it's on YouTube. It's called Jurassic World Exodus. It has to do about a rescue operation that happens in between the first Jurassic World movie and Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. And really proud of it. It did really well. It looks amazing. We had a great team. Like, everybody that worked on it did awesome. Like, I couldn't be more proud of just.
Was I saying right? It's only a half an hour?
Yeah, it's 25 minutes long.
Okay. So it doesn't take just a minute to watch it.
Yeah. No, and it's, we had CG support. We had like full crew. It was about 90% veteran run, just cast crew, everybody. And it was, really, really cool. Plus, it makes good content. Yes.
Did I by chance bring up charity? I was going to ask you.
No, I'm not hiking for a charity at the moment, but I am, trying to represent a couple of good groups. As far as like veteran enrichment, as you can see, Team RWB, it started out as a running team, and then a couple of years ago, it became We Don't Just Run. So it's about enriching the lives of veterans after transition. So once you're out of the military, what are you supposed to do with your life? Well, there's active groups that go bowling, surfing, running marathons. They do meet and greets. They do, let's all get together and have a beer, or, just get together and do something. Get out of the house, get off the couch, which is also like one of the major messages I'm doing is get outside, right? If you're stuck inside all the time, nonstop, even like not even going out to the mailbox, it's just not good for you. There's nothing healthy about staying sedentary.
Yeah, I was wondering that because I'd seen the shirt and I noticed it was in a lot of your pictures, and I didn't know what it was.
Right. They're a really good group. I first met them in Virginia Beach when I was running marathons just while I was in the military. And it was one of those things where you see them all the time. You don't know what they are, but they carry the flag every time they run a race. Every time they're out doing something, they carry the red, white, and blue. And it's like, okay, well, they're very patriotic. Who are these people? And I had finished a race. I was active duty, so I had the haircut. I looked like I was in the military. And this guy comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, are you in the military?" It's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "You need to join our team." And he gave me a card, told me to go online. I filled out the stuff. They sent me a shirt, and it's just been like a roller coaster ever since, because it's really cool to go do an event, especially like a race, and you have an entire team there that's just yelling and cheering for you. And then when you get finished, they're like, there's people there that actually want to see you, succeed at what you're doing. That's one of the coolest things, I think.
What was the name of the group again?
It's called Team RWB.
Team
So
RWB.
Yep. So red, white, and blue.
Media.
Yeah. So they're on Instagram. There's different chapters depending on where you're at. If you're in the military or if you support veterans, all you have to do is be a supporter. You can go on, sign up for their website, and they'll send you their newsletter. They'll let you know stuff that's going on. You can volunteer and help out.
Read it easier there.
Yeah, right. It's been a great podcast. I've been told to help in the kitchen by the wife. Thanks. Thanks for coming out and hanging out with us for a bit. We appreciate it.
Tell me about it. My wife's going to be home in about 15 minutes, and she's going to be mad when she finds out there's no dinner yet.
Yeah. Well, it's been a good podcast. That's what they make ordering pizza for. No.
Yeah. Now I know why I sold my tools earlier.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. No, it's a topic that we can talk about for days and days. For sure. But yeah.
Anything else you want to talk about?
I'm trying to think. I'm sure there was, but I can't think of anything right now.
I know most of the people I interviewed, this is actually the first one I'm doing live that was scheduled. All the other ones, when we get done, they're like, man, I wish we would have said something about this and this and this
right.
afterwards. Gluten-free. No, I can't.
Oh, okay. So that's a cut at me. So I have celiacs, so I can't have anything with flour in it. So anytime we were anywhere on trail, I had to order stuff that was gluten-free, which there are places along the trail that if you order something that's gluten-free, they look at you like you have something growing out of your forehead. So gluten-free pizza is definitely something that I do a lot if I can find a good one.
What do you use for dough?
It's usually rice. So if anything that you use flour for, you can replace with your either almond or rice. So it modifies the flavor a lot. Like it doesn't taste the same. I didn't find out I had celiacs until 2016, so I know the difference. Tried to kill the Kiltsman daily for the first month. Yes, we did. I had 4 different reactions on trail as far as celiacs is concerned, and with those 4 reactions, I missed about 12 days on trail. So that it's not a good thing to do. I probably did.
Did what?
Okay.
Oh, order pizza.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No. When you're on trail, you get into town or anywhere close to town, you're ordering all the food that you're thinking about, and you'll eat all of it too. Yo, Matt Cook from Oregon.
I'm trying to figure out if I know Matt. I don't think so. How you doing, Matt? Ooh.
Yeah.
I gotta quit hitting that mic.
No, you're good. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, you guys, your questions have been spot on. It's been really helpful. That's awesome.
Definitely appreciate all the questions. What I got next? Friday noon, I think I got Cheryl hiking with Yahweh, and then Poncho is going to be next Thursday.
Okay, cool. I'll come on and hit you guys with all the really tough questions. See an emoji. Can you talk about winter clothing layers? Absolutely. So I wear a kilt, and people always have the same questions about the kilt, but I'm not going to get into that. So with layers, for most people, it's you have your winter socks, you have a base layer, which is usually like thermals or something like that, and then pants, and you have a thermal shirt and a dry shirt and jacket you put on top. Wear only cotton and you can't go wrong. If you want to get really heavy when it's wet, absolutely. It's when I got up into Vermont, I had to get a new kilt, and I knew it was going to start getting colder. So I went from wearing my damn near Kiltum, like super light, like quick drying kilt, to a 16-ounce wool kilt. So 16 ounce means that for every yard, it's 16 ounces of wool. So a kilt is 8-ish yards long, depending on where you get it from. So I had 8 yards of 16 ounces. It was a heavy kilt, but it also kept me really warm, like the entire time through New Hampshire and Maine. And then as far as like up top, I would wear this shirt if I was, trying to stay cooler. and then I would switch over to I forget who made it. It was like a Walmart thermal shirt, and then wore a jacket on top of it, which is a puffy. Yeah, I wish I had a merino wool kilt. That would be amazing, but that stuff is expensive. Yeah, as far as layering is concerned, like keep your head warm, wear a scarf, because I didn't realize how important the scarf was for the cold temperatures until I got one. Real wool, the smart wool stuff does work. It's really good. It's just, a little more expensive. Real wool, anything is expensive. A puffy jacket, you want to have something that's rated 650 or above, depending on how cold you're going to get. And then if you're going to be, getting into much hotter climates, like when we were going through Virginia and it was like in the 100 degrees range, you can only take off so much. So make sure you're wearing something loose fitting and light, and, you can cover up the skin, but not, make yourself too hot. Hopefully that answered your question. I'm not sure.
I was going to say, it's something my mom always said, that you can always put more layers on, but you can only take off so many.
Right. Then you get arrested. Merino wool all the way. Yes. I would love to have like just reams of merino wool that I can make my own stuff with. That'd be awesome. Because it's like right now I'm wearing this tartan. It's actually a thicker wool compared to what I normally wear on trail, but it's super thin compared to what I was wearing up in the colder, like New Hampshire and Maine.
Do you hear many hikers using alpaca?
Not really, just because it's more of a cost thing than anything else. But alpaca costs more to use and process. And there's actually an alpaca farm that you can stop at on the AT. And we stayed there and it was really cool. But you don't usually see people wear it because it retains moisture a lot easier.
I was asking because I saw somebody who is getting ready to hike the AT, and a lady that volunteers for the company that he works with made him an alpaca wool hat to take out on the trail.
Oh yeah,
Nice.
That
was cool.
I learned not to use my rain jacket unless it rains. I wore out the DWR and wetted out the jacket. I'll treat often on trail. Yeah, that's Crash, by the way. Yeah, we got wetted through quite a bit up in Maine because it was just raining a lot. That's actually why I got hypothermia while I was up there, just because I got wetted out. It was cold, hiking along. I'd lost all my body fat by that point. It was just, try to stay dry as much as you can. Always treat things before it gets wet. It's like I've been treating all my stuff, waterproofing it, getting it ready for Florida because it's Florida. I know it's going to be wet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, if you're going to be in the negatives in February, make sure your gear is rated for negative temperatures. Like with quilts and stuff, mine's rated to 0. Or sorry, no, it's a 10-degree quilt, but I layer it up as I need to if it's cold enough. So it's going to be a little bit more weight, but carry that extra blanket, carry a sheet, carry whatever it is that makes you warmer when you have it all together. Because if you're just going to be super cold, you're just going to be miserable and you're going to want to quit.
Yeah. And that's I think one of the most important things is that night's rest. If you are not comfortable and getting a good night's sleep, from what I see, you're not going to have a very nice next day.
Right. Yeah, no, and it makes a big difference too. Like if you wake up and you're nice and rested, you take that morning piss and you eat, and then you're just like, okay, I'm ready to go. You'll knock out all your miles in the morning and it'll be a much better day. But if you don't sleep and you wake up and you're just slogging around, you're not going to do your mileage that day, which is important when you're trying to finish.
Now, you said on the AT you used the tent. Are you going to continue using tent?
Yeah. So I have a freestanding tent that I can use my tent poles to set up,
right.
Which I like the idea of the hammock, and I have nothing against hammocks whatsoever. The weight is negligible either way. But as far as, setup and mobility, being able to set up anywhere, I like having my tent. Just personal preference. Right. Sleeping bag liners work in your opinion? Yes. It depends on the person, but yes. So I don't use a sleeping bag. I use a quilt. But my quilt does turn into a bag shape. So if you have a liner, it's good for cutting the wind a little bit more, and it's good for upping the it's not really R value, but the thermal value of your sleeping bag. So if you are going to be in there and using it, then as long as it makes you warmer, it's working. And then if it's too warm and you don't want to use your sleeping bag at all, then you have the liner to where you can use that instead. So yes, I think they do work.
I seen somebody say something that they estimated it added like 14 degrees.
Okay. Yeah, sounds right. It's amazing what you can do with like one little layer.
Yeah, and you look at it, I mean, you can almost see through them.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's just like when I was saying with the scarf. So Crash found it in the scarf that I use in a hiker box in Maine. I forget the hostel's name, but he found it. He's like, here, you should take this, because we had been talking about it for a while. It's like, I really want to get a scarf because that's the only thing that was missing. Well, between not having one and wearing one, like I was burning up when I would wear it, and I would be freezing if I wasn't wearing it. So just that one strip of fabric wrapping around your neck makes a huge difference. So yeah.
I got to enlarge that so I can read it.
Okay. I am a hammock enthusiast. Oh, I'm not getting the chat anymore. That's why. I can set up my tarp as a tent if needed and sleeping pad from climate so I can go onto the ground. Yeah, no, I know a lot of guys that use hammocks. And like I said, I'm a fan of both and they work great. I chose a tent just because for me, it's easier for me to use and I can set it up literally anywhere. Like instead of cowboy camping, I can set up on a rock somewhere.
Right.
When you're on trail, did you see a lot of hikers use bivy bags or sleep out cowboy style? Yes. When you're hiking along the trail, you will see everything. You will see every setup imaginable, from the Walmart bivy all the way up to the $10,000 tent, the $20,000 North Face, setups that people come out with. You will see everything. And you will see a lot of bivvies just because they're lighter and they're easier to carry.
I'd say the price of the one tent would make my whole trip.
Yeah. Plus one up on that question. What weight do you consider ultralight? So the whole ultralight, medium weight, ultra weight debate. I'm not an ultralight person by any means. I carry a guitar. I carry camera equipment. So it's if your bag weighs less than 40 pounds with everything in it, I would consider that lightweight. Because I was, when I was stationed with the Marines, we would carry, 80 pounds plus flak, plus Kevlar, plus everything else. It's all relative in perspective. The lighter the weight, the faster you could move. But if you're not carrying the heavy weight, then your body's not getting used to carrying the heavy weight. So it's kind of like I want to say carry less stuff, but at the same time, if you want to carry something, just be ready for it to weigh more. And as far as like ultralight itself, I would say anything, as far as a base weight, anything under like 26 pounds, I would say is probably considered ultralight. Unless you're one of those really weird people that like just uses Tyvek for everything. And, you use that as like your sleeping bag, and
you don't. I got to thinking about that too. You got all the ultralight gear and everything. It's down so little. But you don't have to be ultralight to do it, because I mean, you look back in the 70s, they weren't ultralights in it. They were getting it done then.
Oh yeah. Well, it's just like Grandma Gatewood. She carried a knapsack, and that definitely was not ultralight. Just looking at the pictures, it's like, no, there's no way that's less than 30 pounds. Base weight is a myth. Yeah, I agree. No, as far as like the ultralight thing, the lighter the weight, the more expensive it is. And it all depends on the person as to what they can actually use and do. If you're going to, try to be the lightest weight thing out there, as far as bag is concerned, then you have to put the money out there. Most people that want to go hiking don't want to spend a fortune to go hiking. You're paying thousands of dollars to pretend to be homeless. So yeah. See, Crash is different. He likes being ultralight. Yeah, and durability is a big deal. I'm a big fan of the boots that I use because they're super light, but they also only last for like 150 miles before they wear through like the waterproof and stuff like that. I'm not going to throw them under the bus, but I like their shoes. Base weight is a myth. Yeah. 26 pounds, and I carry a chair. I knew a bunch of people that were carrying chairs on trail, and it makes sense to me because, like, at the end of the day, you want to sit somewhere that's not a rock or that's not wet or just, on the planks in the shelter. Instead of carrying a chair, though, I carry a guitar, so it's just kind of a trade-off. Like, we all have that one luxury item that's just like way too heavy than it should be, but you carry it because it's one of those things that you have to have just for your mentality's sake. And you guys have really good questions and stuff. Ultralight. Okay. Going back a little bit. And you guys are awesome. Thanks for sticking it out with us for this long. That's awesome.
Yeah, I definitely like the live interview better than the recorded one.
Plus, oh, yeah.
So much problems. Every one of my damn recordings I did, I was using OBS and butchered the video on every one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So that was why. And my ultimate goal really was to get it out there and then bring it over to YouTube.
Oh, yeah. Well, that and being able to do it live, we can actually have interaction with people that want to know stuff. And it's not just you talking to me and me talking to you.
Right.
How do you mentally prepare? Okay, we'll get to that one. My base weight is 24 pounds. I struggle with base weight all the time, but come to realize 24 pounds is the norm. 24 pounds is light, in my opinion, because it's like 24 pounds, that's 3 gallons of water. So I look at things in gallons of water. A gallon of water is 8 pounds. Once you're carrying a gallon of water, you're carrying 8 pounds on top of whatever else you're carrying. So if you're only carrying 3 pounds of water and that's what you're carrying as your weight, that's amazing. Because then you can add all sorts of food and stuff on top of that, and you can carry it with you, and you're not, overtaxing yourself as far as energy wise. Yeah, 24 pounds is light.
Weight really, to me, I hate when people look at weight so much because the weight shouldn't matter, the comfort should.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's personal preference. If you think, hey, you know what, I need it to be a lighter weight just so I can go farther, great. Then that's what you want to do. But if you have that one thing that you need to have, like it's an extra blanket or an extra pair of socks or extra whatever, if you're counting the pounds of that versus the comfort you have out of it, then you're probably not, in the right mindset for that particular hike.
Right.
You're just thinking of like competition as opposed to comfort.
Right.
How do you mentally prepare for a long distance hike? For me, I decided to have a nice downward spiral and, have like a midlife crisis sort of deal and then just go do it. But so what we talked about earlier, it's when you're going into it, stop telling people you're going to attempt a through hike. It's I'm doing this. I am doing the AAT. I'm going to be doing it from this month to this month, and I'm going to finish on this day. You may not finish on that day. It may change. Things happen. But if you're mentally preparing to do something, don't say you're going to do it. Like, you have to put yourself in the mindset, like, I'm not going to do it. I am doing this, and I am doing it this to this. And then everything else just kind of falls into place because you're actually making it happen as opposed to saying that it's going to happen, if that makes any sense. And as far as like the trail along the way, it's like life. Everything changes every day. You get used to certain things. You don't get used to some things. Everything that happens in life happens on trail. That's something that you'll hear from everybody online. It's like, okay, if you mentally prepare for the first day, then what are you going to do about the second day? Right? You just have to take it one step at a time, keep moving forward, and just, love every second of it. Hate some of the moments, but love every second of it.
Yeah, Mischief was the one that told me about that not to put attempt, don't say attempt, because that already puts doubt in your mind. Exactly.
I'm at 10.1 and with food and water, just a hair over 20 for 3 to 4 days and super comfortable, but I kind of have to be ultralight. Yeah, that's pretty light. That's like, yeah, that's.
Did you happen to hear Mischief's story?
No, I haven't watched the other podcast yet. I've been getting ready for what's coming up.
Yeah, he was on the trail last year and getting water, slipped, fell on the icy rock, cracked his head, knocked himself out, left his feet in the water for 3-4 hours, frozen solid. Ended up having half of one foot and 3/4 of the other foot amputated.
Wow.
He's back on the AT.
Yeah. No, that's you're very fortunate, I will say, just because it's like, I mean, I get it. It sucks that you had the amputation done, but the fact that it was just your feet, like, kudos on you for making a recovery, getting back on trail. That's yeah. No, it's just like with Crash. His story is he got into he got into a wreck a couple years ago over in Oregon, and he lost part of his leg. It's not amputated per se, but he is missing a good chunk of the muscle tendons, and he had to do recovery for years and surgeries for years just to be able to walk again, and then just went out and decided to do the trail as part of his rehab. And he did the full trail, was able to do it with, part of his leg missing. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, dude, Mischief, that's like crazy. Like, in a good way crazy. That's awesome that you're able to, do what you're able to do. Love this format. Yeah, me too.
I gotta enlarge it. I'll never be able to read it.
I've also been preparing physically. Some hikers I've talked to that are through hiking this year say Georgia will prepare them. You don't need to prepare. How do you feel about those hikers? Okay, so the person that I started hiking with had never hiked a day before in their life, and had spent basically their physical preparation was done in the kitchen. They worked as a chef professionally, so no hiking experience, but used to being on their feet all day. When it comes to the actual AT itself, physical preparation is great. Always prepare if you can, if you want to. That's, it's your prerogative. Definitely prepare yourself as best as you can. But is it necessary to be in complete, like, peak physical condition to start the AT? Not unless you're going for time. So if you start out slow, do 8-mile days, 9-mile days, 10-mile days for like the first 2-3 weeks until you're, you found your legs. And then you step it up from there. If you're physically preparing for the trail, it's a completely different animal than, running on concrete or going to the gym or getting ready that way. Like, there's no real actual preparation for doing a long hike. It's just, you can get your cardio up, you can get your, your legs up, but once you actually get into it, that's when you actually develop your body to doing the long trail. So good on you for getting ready for it. It's once you finally do step out on the AT, like, it punches you in the mouth. Like, it's not it's not one of those trails where it's just like, oh, it's going to be easy the whole time. Like, it's considered the hardest trail for a reason.
Yeah, that's what you were saying about starting out slow, do 8 miles and build your way up. And my first thought that popped into my head was that if you go out on the trail like that and your plan is to kill the trail, it's going to kill you.
Oh yeah. No. If you go out trying to do 18, 19, 20-mile days and you're not ready for it, and you haven't been doing 18, 19, 20-mile days on trail already, yeah, it's going to chew you up and spit you back out. That's just how the trail works. But if you go in there, you ease into it, you listen to what your body needs and listen to what the trail is giving you, then you'll come out perfectly fine. Yeah, a through hike is 5% gear, 20% physical, and 75% mental. Yeah, no, I can get on board with that for sure. Like, I saw people that should not have been able to do like any of that trail finish, and it's all just mentality. And then I saw people that should have been able to do the trail in like 20 days, and they got off after 5 or 6 just because they weren't mentally there.
I'm looking really stupid. I'm looking through messages or the
the chat.
There's one in particular I was looking for. And the bad thing on my end, when I scroll over them, the one I'm looking at, it ends up highlighting and making it so I can't see it.
Oh, okay. Man, you guys are awesome. So many.
Hey, Pepper Jack, is that part of the Oregon Desert Trail? Does it go through there?
Okay. Trails are always good rehab, no matter what ails you. I agree. When I was having a reaction to something I ate in probably Pennsylvania, and I didn't have the money at the time to stay at a hostel to recover, which for those that don't know what celiac disease is, it's like having an allergic reaction in your stomach. So you spend all your time in the bathroom. You're having cramps throughout your body the entire time. You get hives and stuff. It's not a fun time. But when I was on trail, I noticed that it was way easier to deal with. I should say it wasn't as difficult to deal with as if I was in town. So being on trail, hiking it out, the body's processing it a lot faster than, sitting indoors. And then as far as like muscle rehab and stuff, I know Crash got so much out of doing the AT just for like his leg. And I'm excited to see how much faster than me he's going to get doing the CDT and the PCT.
Thanks, Pepper Jack. Yeah, he says that wasn't trail.
Mental toughness is what makes you a hiker. Yes and no. So if you get out and you go outside and you do 3 miles on trail, you're a hiker. I know there's a lot of like hemming and hawing, like what's the difference between a thru hiker and like a hiker? Yeah, you never crap your pants if you wear a kilt. He's not wrong. People will come up to me and they'll say, "Hey man, I've seen what you're doing. It's really cool. I did 8 miles this weekend." And my response is always, "That's awesome. Good for you." Like 8 miles, if you've never done 8 miles before, that's amazing. Like everybody that wants to get out and be a hiker, great, you're a hiker. You've done it. You've gone out, you've put your foot on dirt, you've climbed up to the top of a mountain or the top of a driveway or something. Oh, I say driveway. You've gotten out into nature, you've made the attempt, you're a hiker. Now, as far as thru hiker is concerned, if you put in 1,000 miles on the AT, and then you say, "Oh man, I didn't do it," or you quit after 1,000 miles. Okay, you didn't make it all the way to the end, but you still did 1,000 miles. You know how cool that is to some person that's never done like 5 miles or 6 miles? Like, yeah, you're a hiker once you're at that point where you're a hiker. Like there's no, dollar sign amount that says, "Oh, I'm a hiker." Yeah, it's just one of those things. Like once you've done something enough, you'll know that you are, a hiker. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I forget who I was talking to. It was probably one of the guys that I played music with up in Vermont. They made it to the end of Maryland, and they were getting ready to cross up over, and they were going to flip flop, but they ran out of money and they couldn't finish. Yeah, 1,000 miles is crazy, and you're a hiker. Exactly. If you make it any distance on the AT, any distance, whether it's North Carolina at that quarter mark, or you make it to Damascus at the halfway mark, or you make it to Pennsylvania, wherever, you're already doing more than like 99% of what the planet is doing. So it's a big deal to me that people are actually just getting outside and doing stuff. It's like, okay, cool. You came up and you did 15,000 or 1,500 miles, and then you just told me that you only did 1,500 miles. It's like, you're crazy. There's people out there that can't walk a mile.
You figure what's the number of people that usually try the AT in a year?
So this year it was, I had the stat. It was like 4,200. So 4,217 or something like that. And out of that 4,217, 1,917 finished.
Right. And if you think about it, I live in a really small town in Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
That's not even this town.
Right.
Like the trail. I mean, you watch a lot of the YouTube videos, and it seems like there's a lot of people doing it. But in reality, compared to the population, there's really not that many.
Right. Well, that, and it's like the people that are attempting to do thru hikes, and the thru hiking culture is a very, very, very small community. Like there are not a lot of people that attempt, let alone finish a thru hike. So I love the fact that our community builds each other up. Like it's not a matter of there's a few people out there that aren't building each other up, but if you've already done the thru hike, you've already done the AT, and you've finished, and you hear somebody else is getting ready to do the AT, you're not going to be like, "Oh, you have to do it this way or else you're not doing it right." You've already done it. You're going to look at that person and go, "Dude, that's awesome. Hike your hike. I hope you have the best hike you've ever had. And if you don't make it all the way, that's okay. But you're going to be 1,000 times better of a person when you're done, whether you finish it or not. And that's just, yeah, no, that's one of the coolest parts I think about it. Wow, I just blew up the comment section, it looks like.
Okay. Look at that.
Minimalist versus glamping, where do you sit? What are your comforts? I'm a fan of both, actually. So the minimalist, when I'm through hiking, I'm a fan of minimalist to a point. So there are certain things that you don't need, right? I carry a guitar. It's one of my comforts. I won't not carry a guitar. I'd carry like the sleeping pad. I carry the inflatable sleeping pad. I carry, oh man, I've got all my stuff laid out too. There's a lot of things that most people don't carry, like the butt pad. That it's a luxury. You don't have to have it. All you have to go hiking is boots. But it's nice to have certain comforts, so that way each day gets a little bit easier just because you're used to doing that hike and you're used to having that amount of comfort. As far as like glamping, I used to love just driving out somewhere and setting up a tent and, you know, pulling out a cooler and doing steaks and stuff on the fire and just, you know, glamping it up, just because it's nice to be outside. It's nice to be out in nature. Like,
yeah, I was gonna say, it really all depends on what your situation is, what you're going to do.
Right. It's just a matter of, you know, respect what you're doing. If you're going out glamping, make sure you clean up after yourself. Leave no trace. People hammer on it all the time because you'll see the weekenders that go out there, and it's nothing against the weekenders, although it's completely against the weekenders. If you're out there, pick up your trash, take it out with you. If you're leaving stuff everywhere, clothes, you know, toilet paper, everything just strewn out everywhere, the thru hikers that are used to seeing pristine everything come through and see that, and it's disgusting, and you get judged based on it, and it's terrible. Like, people are disgusting creatures if you let them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Get off that soapbox. Oh wow. Dog poo bags. See, I don't like the bags. They're dogs. As long as they're not, you know, going in the middle of the trail, it doesn't matter. If they're going off into the woods and going, animals live in the woods. That's what they do. That's my personal preference. I know that's not what most people say, but if you're going to put it into a bag, you better carry it out, because plastic doesn't biodegrade in fast enough for it to be leaving out there.
I think it was Pepper Jack's video that I saw. I'm almost sure it was, but he was showing a trip, and great, people are picking up their dog poo with these plastic bags, but then leaving the plastic bag. I'm talking at least 10, 15 in little section hike.
Oh yeah, it was really bad in New York, right outside of the zoo. Going when you're first leaving the zoo, going back up into the mountains, there's a trail that people just go walk up and back down, and they take their dogs up there, and there'll just be bags and bags and bags of dog shit everywhere. Yeah, excuse my language, but
we also found another bag one time too.
Oh yeah, my pet peeve. Yeah, that's funny. Beer is a big thing. Pack one up to the mountaintop, and it tastes so good. Yes. So I don't usually drink beer. I'm a cider guy. So I will pack out a can of, you know, like Angry Orchard or something every once in a while, a Strongbow, and it'll be, you know, one of the tall cans. Hike up to the top of the mountain. You're already a lightweight because you've been hiking for forever. It's a pound of liquid that you're going to drink, and it's going to weigh nothing, and you're going to feel amazing after you drink it.
Right.
I'm not saying drink and hike, but I'm not saying that. Anyway, I found a bag of weed. I'm going to say no comment. Box wine. See, I haven't done that. I haven't carried wine up on trail yet, but that's, you know, there's always a first, especially like on the CDT when there's like not a lot of, you know, time in between towns. I'm sure I'll start experimenting on that stuff. The box wine. No.
God, I don't think I could drink wine on the trail. I quit drinking about 8 years ago.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people that go out on trail to quit their vices, right? And I mean, I quit smoking. It took a long time on trail to quit smoking.
What's that?
What's that?
Is that a plan?
It kind of was. It was one of those things where it's like, oh, it's inherent. You're gonna, quit all these bad things for you when you go on trail. But the thing is like, if you're going on trail to quit something, that's gonna be the worst place for you to quit. Just because if you use that vice to get off of whatever stress you're under, the trail is stressful. Yes, it's amazing. It's wonderful. It's beautiful. There's all this really cool stuff and great opportunities and great experiences you're gonna have, but the stress is real. Like, there's gonna be points where you're gonna be like, man, I just got to have that cigarette, or I just got to have that drink. I can't help it. And then, you know what? The mountain will provide. It will be there. Like, because if you're saying, hey, I really need something, and you actually like, that's in your mind that I really need something, it's going to show up. I can't explain why, but that's just how it works.
And I just shaved my head before the show, Pepper Jack. Thanks.
Oh, I'm missing it.
Both bald. When did we lose our hair?
Oh, well, once you're cool enough, you're allowed to shave your head. No, I've been shaving my head for 6 years now, almost.
Yeah. I got the back of my head. It's all tattooed up.
Oh, nice.
And I put a full moon on my head where I thought the bald spot was going to be. I missed.
Yeah. No, this is, it's more comfortable this way. I have a skin condition that if I let the hair grow out, it just gets itchy. So I just leave it alone. You mentioned guitar. I recently tried the Martin Backpacker. What guitar do you carry with you? I now carry the Martin Backpacker. So, like I had said earlier in the show, I had a Walmart special. It was $25. I wasn't worried about it getting beat up and stuff. So I carried it with me up until, Port Clinton in Pennsylvania, where I got trail magicked by these two awesome people. It was Tinklebell and Rooster. They came and picked up me and my buddy Swan from trail. They treated us overnight, let us do a 0 at their house so I could go get new shoes. And we're playing on my really terrible guitar. And Rooster was really big into guitar. He's got a bunch of Martins because that's where the factory is there in Port Clinton. And he pulled out the Backpacker and he was like, here, try this one. We played on it for a little bit, and then he asked me if I'd like to buy it on a discount. And I was like, yeah, sure. I don't need to eat this week. And it gave him my money like right away because it sounds so much better. Like if you compare the two, I mean, the Backpacker isn't like, it's not concert quality, but it's great for practicing on, and it sounds way better than anything you're going to buy for like $20. Yeah, I love that guitar too. We had some trail magic on the trail. They made us drink some high % beer. That we had some rum that morning. A gift for Kiltsman and Epic Day. Yes, we had some very not smart days, but were a lot of fun. Yeah, memorable. I won't recommend getting drunk in the morning and hiking through the whites. I'll just say that. That's just setting up for injury. We actually, one of our good friends that was on trail that day ended up getting injured. Foreign hikes, yes. I'm looking at the Te Aurora in New Zealand, and I'm looking at the Camino in Spain. It's just figuring out how to pay for them later. Work comes early. What is work? No, I'm joking.
Not yet. You retired or you resigned.
Yeah, no.
Brother, appreciate it.
Yeah, my resignation letter from the world. Keep going. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. If you're on Instagram, wanderingkiltsman.com, shoot me a message. That's the one that I check the most, and I'll message back, follow back. Camino is very popular. It should be a lot of fun though. Crash, are you leaving? You're not allowed to leave the podcast. No, I'm joking.
I'm gonna wrap it up here in a few minutes.
Yeah, no, you're good.
I'm like them. I still got the 9 to 5 world, which happens to be 5 a.m. to 3:30.
Yeah, no, I definitely don't miss that particular part of existing.
People say I'm crazy. My retirement plan is I don't have a normal retirement plan. My retirement plan is strap on the backpack and hit a trail and disappear.
Right. Well, it's like the eventual plan is get an RV, travel around, eventually buy a property, build my own place, like with my own hands. That way I truly appreciate what I have instead of, buying cookie cutter or whatever. If you had one thing to tell someone debating on through hiking or not, what would you tell them? So I would tell them, don't do it. Now, here's why. Everybody told me not to do it. So if you tell somebody don't do it, and they
gonna-
do it anyway, they're going to finish. Not only are they going to finish, they're going to be way better off. Now, if somebody needs advice on like how to do something, then absolutely tell them how to do it. But if you're debating on through hiking or not, either one, you're looking for excuses not to do it, or two, you're looking for someone to tell you not to, so that way you can rebel and do it anyway. So I'm a fan of rebellion when it comes to bettering yourself. Yeah. Oh, and actually, so here you go, story time. One of the things that, do you believe in UFOs? I guess it depends on the context, but yes. When I was going through Vermont, I was by myself, and I was only running into southbounders. And one of the games I would play was every time somebody would say, "Oh no, you're not going to make it. You should flip flop," I would add a mile to my day. That's why I had 30 and 32 and longer days, because there's always going to be that group of people that are going to say you can't do this. You shouldn't do this. It's not possible. You're not going to want to do it. So I would take those negative comments and turn it into a positive. Say, okay, I'm going to do this extra mile per person. And there was a day where I added 8 miles just because of running into 8 different people, and they would say, you can't do it. Cool, I'm going to do it anyway. And yeah, no, me and Crash showed that you can do it, even when people are telling you you're not going to make it. You should flip flop. Thanks for a wonderful podcast. Enjoyed it. Nice to spend time with both of you and your viewers. Take care and keep exploring the outdoors. Thanks, man.
Questions?
You're awesome. Wow. Can you hula hoop? I don't know. Probably. I would probably try it. I mean, I'm not against hula hooping.
See that one?
It's at 9:53.
Okay.
I mean, yeah. Camino. I'm really looking forward to doing the Camino, but that's after the Triple Crown is done, because my big focus is the Triple Crown. The Florida Trail was just kind of an afterthought for this year that me and Crash came up to. What's your biggest hiking day, not just on the AT, but ever on trail? No, my biggest hiking day has been on the AT, because I did 32.4 in Vermont. And before that, my biggest day was like running a marathon and then doing like a 5K afterwards. So it's like, yeah, no, 32.4 is my biggest day. And that was not an easy day by any means. It was a good day, but it was not an easy day. I went over Killington and the other 2 ridges that are right there, over 32 miles. That was something. Biggest water crossing. On foot, it was in the 100-mile wilderness. We went over so many water crossings. The biggest one that we actually had to cross starts with a P. It's in Maine. You have to hire somebody to take you in a canoe across it, because if you try to swim, you'll die. Because that's what they're having an issue with. That's why they have people stationed there. Does this states live to their name? Oh, like Vermont and Roxylvania. Okay, so Roxylvania, yes, very much so. It was all rock, and it was like stuff that was hidden under grass, and it was all like, when you get there, you'll see it's all rock the entire way. For mud, there was some mud, but when I got there, it had already gotten past the wet season, so it was drying up mostly. It was just squishy. Like, it wasn't like you're sinking in up to your legs. I know other people weren't as lucky as me in that, stance, but it wasn't as bad as what everybody had told me it was going to be.
Roxylvania, I seen somebody else doing it, and they were anticipating it, and they got into Pennsylvania, and they're like, it's not that bad. What are you people talking about? And it stays like that for a little while, and then it nails you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Roxylvania, it's one of those things where once it does become rocky, it's rocky, and it stays rocky. But at the same time, it's like the advanced course in rocks, because at the very beginning of the trail, like it's rocky. It's rocks and roots the entire way. All the way up through Virginia, there's rocks on the ground, and you're gonna step on stuff. You're gonna roll your ankle. It's just part of the thing. Once you get past Pennsylvania and you start getting into the second half of Vermont, getting into New Hampshire and Maine, like that's the expert course on rocks. Like you really learn how to walk once you get up there, but you also slow down a lot.
I put this one up there because you said you lost something in the
right. Right. So have you lost or gotten anything stolen on trail? Yep, I lost. I broke a camera, lost a camera, had a camera stolen, lost a phone, which was one of the lowest moments of the entire trail, was losing my phone to the mountain. Crash was there for that one. I say lowest moment. It's just dumb. Lost a kilt, lost a bunch of clothes. That was a big thing, was losing clothes. As far as stolen, I think if anything, like I had food stolen, but I think it was probably by animals. And then as far as like other hikers, as long as you're surrounded with like the right people, you're not gonna have stuff stolen. Like just feel out the vibes of people. Like it's really easy to tell who's, shady and who's not. Right. And if you're uncomfortable, keep moving.
Where'd you lose your kilt?
Okay, so Shenandoah, there's the Shenandoah River. Well, we did a kayaking section for Shenandoah, and the water was really low. We weren't supposed to be on the water anyway. Ended up flipping the kayak and lost the kilt, lost camera pieces, lost all this stuff. It was just a really expensive day. But ended up getting really, really wet. Do you think the approach trail is something good to hike? You have both sides, people saying you can't complain about 9 miles when you're through hiking. People say it's unnecessary miles. I'm going to say they're unnecessary, but at the same time, like on the grand scheme of things, when you get to the end, you're not going to remember the first 8 miles. You're going to remember everything that led up to the trail and the entire trail itself. So the thing that you also probably hear a lot is like hike your own hike. So if you get there and you're like, man, I don't know if I can do a straight uphill for 800 steps, then go to the trailhead. It's right there. You can drive up to it and it's a mile in. You're still going to end up doing 2,192 miles or however long they're extending it to next year. If you do the extra 8 miles, great. That's awesome. Good for you, man. But if you don't, I mean, if somebody's judging you for not doing 8 miles that aren't part of the trail, then don't talk to them.
Seems like a lot of things are personal preference.
Oh yeah. Well, that, and it's like, it's negativity. The people that are saying like, the approach trail is part of the trail, it's because they did it. And they can say, oh yeah, it was part of their trail. Great. Good for you. The trail changes every year. Yeah. There are parts of it that, yeah.
Key word in that sentence was there.
You're right. It's their trail. My trail included, didn't include a lot of blue blazes. But there's people that only do blue blazes because it's part of the original trail. It's called retro blazing. There's people that yellow blaze it. I'm not a big fan of that. Jumping ahead and doing whatever, but it happens. If you are, man, there's purists that you have to do the white blaze all the way through, all the way. Well, that is great. Good for you. I'm glad you did it that way. That is amazing. It takes a lot of discipline to do it that way. Good for you. But at the same time, not everybody's going to be able to do it that way. And just the fact that they're out there doing it, they walk 2,000 miles, 2,100 miles, 2,200 miles. Yeah. If you're talking bad or down to somebody about that, then you're the kind of negativity they don't need.
The one thing they need to realize is you're still a hiker.
Yeah, exactly. You're still a hiker. You're still outside.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up so I can go ahead and get to bed. Appreciate you coming on. You want to drop your links?
Yeah. So if you guys want to help me out or follow me along, I'm at www.thewanderingkiltsman.com. I'm on Instagram at The Wandering Kiltsman, Facebook at The Wandering Kiltsman. If you Google it, the Wandering Kiltsman, you'll find me. And if you drop me a line, I'll drop you one back. If you follow me, let me know that you're following me. You're a real person. I'll follow you back, and we'll support each other on our trails.
And I appreciate everybody coming out here and questions tonight. Man, I appreciate that. I think you guys carried the show more than I did, which really helps.
Yeah, this was a great format. Yes. So it's all one word, the Wandering Kiltsman.
Yeah, I have all the links in the description down below.
Okay, cool. And I'll make sure to share the YouTube video.
All right, appreciate it. You guys have a great night. Thanks for coming out, and I will see you guys Friday at noon Central, I believe. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, guys.